The first time the rumor reached me, I chased it until I became part of it. That was my mistake. I ran down corridors, grabbed sleeves, demanded names, interrupted whispers, cried in bathrooms, posted long messages in the year group chat, and begged people to believe I had not written the anonymous page exposing half the grade's secrets. By Monday morning, nobody remembered the original rumor clearly. They remembered my panic. They remembered my red eyes. They remembered the way I shouted at Camille Everly outside the chapel while she stood there with her hands clasped, golden hair shining under the stained glass light, whispering, "Renee, I'm trying to help you." They remembered her kindness, not my terror. They remembered her tears, not my proof. The rumor said I ran the Shadow Ledger, an anonymous gossip account that had leaked crushes, family debts, scholarship statuses, old disciplinary notes, and private messages during final season. The rumor said I had done it because I was jealous of the popular girls, jealous of the prefects, jealous of Camille, the girl everyone called West Haven's Golden Heart. By the end of that Monday, my scholarship review was frozen, my leadership application was withdrawn, and Camille stood at assembly giving a speech about choosing grace when hurt people hurt others. Hurt people.
She meant me.
For years later, when I died alone in a city apartment with my university appeals still unanswered, I remembered her smile more clearly than my own face. Then I woke up at 6:18 a.m. on the Friday before everything spread, in my old bedroom, with my school blazer hanging from the door and the first Shadow Ledger post still 12 minutes away from appearing. This time, when the rumors found me, I did not run after them. I smiled. My name was Renee Alder, and at West Haven College, smiling at a rumor was considered either confidence or guilt depending on who owned the room. I owned nothing. I was a scholarship student with good marks, good handwriting, and the kind of face teachers called serious when they meant tired. My mother worked in aged care. My father sent birthday texts 3 days late and child support never. I had learned early that being ordinary at a private school was not neutral. It made you a surface people rode on when they needed contrast. Camille Everly, on the other hand, was a complete sentence before she spoke. She was head of the Peer Support Council, chapel reader, charity drive ambassador, debate finalist, netball vice captain, and the girl teachers trusted to walk new students around because she had such a calming presence. She had soft blonde waves, pale blue eyes, freckles across her nose, and a voice that made cruelty sound like concern. In my first life, she called me her friend. Not best friend, never equal, but friend in that useful public way where she could invite me into her orbit when she needed proof she was inclusive. She asked about my mother's shifts, bought me hot chocolate when I forgot lunch money, and once told me, "Renee, you're so strong. I don't know how you survive all the things people say." At the time, I thought she was comforting me. Later, after the Shadow Ledger destroyed me, I understood she had always known exactly what people said because half of it passed through her first. The Shadow Ledger was not just gossip. Gossip is messy, human, stupid, often cruel by accident. The Shadow Ledger was curated. It posted in a clean black and white format every Friday at 6:30 a.m., just before students woke properly and just early enough for screenshots to reach school before homeroom. It claimed to expose hypocrisy. It ranked kindness committee members by secret meanness. It revealed who had private tutors while pretending to be naturally gifted. It posted cropped messages, old photos, anonymous confessions, and little truth notes about students' families. Most entries were half-right, which made them more dangerous than lies. In my first life, the account ran for 3 weeks before it named me as the owner. The proof looked convincing: screenshots from my notes app, phrasing similar to mine, a library computer login, and a voice memo of me saying, "People should know who they're trusting," cut from a conversation where I was talking about a group project. Camille defended me at first, which made her later heartbreak more powerful. She told people not to jump to conclusions, then quietly fed them conclusions in softer language. By Monday, the whole grade believed I had built the account out of resentment. Nobody asked why the account never once targeted Camille. Nobody asked why every rumor that protected her arrived wrapped in concern. Nobody asked why the Golden Girl always stood near the fire with clean hands and perfect timing. At 6:30 a.m., Just as I remembered, my phone buzzed. The Shadow Ledger had posted. I sat at my desk with my school tie loose around my neck and opened the account with hands that did not shake until after the first line loaded. Friday drop. West Haven's nicest girls and the secrets they keep. There were 6 entries. One about Talia Price calling a transfer student accent practice. One about Daniel Wren's father paying for private exam coaching after he mocked scholarship tutoring. One about the charity committee spending fundraiser money on branded ribbons before donations. One about a teacher's daughter receiving early audition information.
One about me.
Renee Alder smiles sweetly in class, but asks who she records in the library. The old fear rose so fast I tasted metal. In the first life, that line made me panic because it was the first seed connecting me to the account. I had replied in the group chat by 6:42, I don't record anyone. I don't know who runs this. Please stop spreading it. That message became proof of sensitivity. This time, I took a screenshot, saved the post, emailed it to myself, and did not respond. Then I opened a fresh notebook and wrote across the first page, rumors do not need answers. They need routes. The first route appeared before first bell. I reached school at 7:43 and found 2 girls whispering beside the lockers. They stopped when they saw me, which meant the rumor had arrived ahead of me and made itself comfortable. In my first life, I would have walked up and said, "What did you hear?" Today, I smiled like I had slept beautifully. That unsettled them more than anger would have. "Morning," I said. One girl, Sophie, blinked. "Are you okay?" Why wouldn't I be? No reason. Her eyes flicked to her friend. I opened my locker slowly, deliberately, humming under my breath even though I felt sick. Across the hallway, Camille watched from beside the prefect board. She wore her gold leadership pin and a white ribbon in her hair, the exact outfit she wore in the old timeline on the day she began protecting me. Her expression was soft concern. I wanted to hate her simply, but memory complicated everything. She had once sat with me after my mother was hospitalized and organized meals from 3 families. She had also used that information later to make my scholarship needs sound like emotional instability. Some people do good things because they want good done. Some do good things because it gives them access to locked rooms inside other people.
Camille crossed the hallway.
"Renee," she said gently. I saw the post. I smiled wider. "Which part?" Her face paused. "All of it. Awful, isn't it? People are talking. People need hobbies." Sophie made a strangled sound behind me. Camille's concern deepened. "I don't think you should joke. It makes you look," she stopped, as if saving me from the word. "Guilty," I offered. Her eyes widened beautifully. "I would never say that."
"Of course not," I said.
"You'd let someone else say it first." That was the first time her mask slipped, and it was so small that anyone else would have missed it. Her mouth softened too slowly. "You're upset." "Not yet." I shut my locker and walked toward homeroom before she could answer. My heart pounded so violently I thought I might stumble, but I did not. The key to surviving rumors I had learned too late is not to appear innocent. Innocence is boring, and rumor hates boredom. The key is to become impossible to use predictably. If I cried, Camille would comfort. If I shouted, she would flinch. If I denied, she would say denial was understandable. If I hid, she would say guilt isolates people. So I smiled, and the rumor had to work harder. During homeroom, Miss Caro told us to avoid engaging with anonymous online cruelty. Camille nodded solemnly, eyes wet. I wrote down the wording. At 8:12, the year group chat lit up with a message from Paige Mercer. Someone said Renee was laughing about the ledger in the hallway. At 8:13, Sophie replied. She wasn't laughing, just acting weirdly calm. At 8:14, an account named Bluebell forwarded. Weirdly calm equals she knew it was coming. There it was. The mutation. Calm became knowledge. Knowledge became guilt. I wrote the route. Hallway Paige Bluebell. Then I added a question mark beside Camille's name. Not because I needed proof she was connected. Because this time I would prove it in a way the whole grade could follow. My plan began in English, of all places, because rumors behave like bad essays. They have themes, transitions, and careless citations. We were analyzing unreliable narrators, which felt so on the nose that I almost laughed for real. Miss Caro asked us to write a short reflection on how readers decide whether a narrator can be trusted. I wrote mine quickly, then turned the back page into a rumor map. I listed the original Shadow Ledger phrase about me. Ask who she records in the library. Then I wrote every variation I heard. Renee records people. Renee records library conversations. Renee has voice notes. Renee runs the ledger from the library computers. Renee smiled because she knew the post was coming. Each version added certainty, without adding evidence. By recess, I had 14 versions. None came directly from Camille. That was her method. She never stood at the starting line. She stood at the turn, redirecting runners after they were already moving. So I needed to create routes she would not know were routes. At recess, I sat on the steps near the science block and let 3 different groups approach me. Not all at once. Rumors prefer small containers. To Sophie, I said lightly, people are saying I recorded in the library, but the funniest part is I barely go there on Thursdays. To Daniel, when he awkwardly asked if I was okay, I said, apparently the recording was in the east stairwell now. Rumors need better geography. To Priya, who had once been kind when nobody watched, I said, I heard someone thinks I used the old media room. That room doesn't even have working Wi-Fi. 3 different locations. Library, Thursday. East stairwell. Old media room. None important. None accusations. Just bait made of harmless details. Then I waited to see which one came back wearing Camille's perfume. By lunch, the rumors had dressed themselves for war. The year group chat was chaos disguised as concern. Someone posted that I recorded girls in the east stairwell. Another said no, it was the old media room, where the Shadow Ledger account was probably uploaded. Then, at 12:08, Camille sent her first public message. Can we please stop spreading unverified things about Renee? I heard the library detail too, but none of us know the full context. Please be kind. There it was. Library detail. The one I gave Sophie. Camille had chosen the version closest to the original Shadow Ledger post, then wrapped it in mercy. She did not accuse me. She confirmed the route. I screenshotted it. Then I did the strangest thing I had done all day. I liked her message. 1 small heart reaction. Within 30 seconds, 3 people messaged me privately. Why did you like that? Are you okay? Is Camille helping you? I smiled at my phone until my face hurt. Camille replied privately 1 minute later. Renee, don't do that. It makes this confusing. I typed. What's confusing? She answered, people won't understand your tone. I replied, good. Then I saved that too. Confusion was my ally now. A rumor that runs smoothly becomes truth by speed. A rumor that keeps tripping makes people look at the person pushing it. The next piece came from the cafeteria, where every school's moral weakness becomes visible under fluorescent lights. In the first life, I avoided lunch on that Friday because the whispers made me nauseous. Camille found me outside the bathrooms, hugged me, and said, hiding makes people worry you're spiraling. Then she walked me into the cafeteria like a rescued animal and sat me beside her, where everyone could watch her kindness and my humiliation at once. Today, I walked in alone, bought pasta, and sat at the center table nobody owned because it was too close to the staff duty station and too far from the windows. People stared. I smiled at them too. Not warmly. Not madly. Just enough. Paige was the first to crack. She came over with her tray, pretending casualness. Renee, are you seriously not bothered? By what? You know. If I reacted to every story people invented about me, I'd never finish lunch. She frowned. So, you're saying it's invented? I'm saying pasta gets cold faster than rumors die. The girls at the next table laughed. Not at me. With surprise. Paige flushed and left. That mattered. Bullies hate when their audience laughs at timing they did not control. Camille arrived 3 minutes later with 2 juice boxes. One for me, one for herself. Can I sit? She asked gently. It's a free table. She sat. The cafeteria leaned closer without moving. I know you're angry, she said softly. No, you don't. Her eyes flickered. I know you. Do you? Better than most. I took a bite of pasta. Then why are you repeating the wrong version? She froze. The cafeteria did not hear the words clearly, but it saw the freeze. Camille recovered with a sad little smile. I'm not repeating anything. I'm trying to slow it down. By confirming the library detail? People were already saying it. Which people? Her hand tightened around the juice box. Renee, this is not a cross-examination. No, I said. Those have rules. Her eyes filled. It was automatic now, like breathing. I'm really trying to be on your side. Which one is that? Silence. For 1 second, the golden girl looked tired. Not guilty, not frightened, just tired of adjusting every mask to fit my new shape. Then she stood, voice trembling just loud enough for the nearby tables. I can't help you if you keep pushing me away. She walked out of the cafeteria. Perfect exit. Several people watched her go, with sympathy. In the first life, I would have chased her. This time, I stayed seated and finished the pasta. The whole room saw that too. Sometimes not chasing is louder than shouting. Friday afternoon, the shadow ledger posted again. That was new. In the first life, it waited until Sunday night to name me directly. My refusal to perform had accelerated the account. The post appeared at 2:46 during history, while Mr. Vale was explaining causes of revolutions, and half the class was secretly living through one on their phones. Emergency drop. When the recorder smiles. It included a cropped screenshot of my heart reaction to Camille's message, a photo of me smiling in the cafeteria, and the line, Renee Alder thinks this is funny because she knows the truth is already out. The class buzzed before Mr. Vale even noticed. My chest tightened. For a moment, the first life surged back. Everyone looking, phones glowing, my name becoming a headline. Then I noticed something the old me never would have seen through panic. The cafeteria photo had been taken from behind Camille's shoulder. The angle showed my face, Paige's tray, and half of Camille's juice box at the lower edge. Only someone sitting across from me or slightly beside Camille could have taken it. Camille had left before the photo?
No.
She had sat there. Her hand, her sleeve, her juice box were in frame. If she was the victim trying to help me, why did the account have a photo from her seat within 2 hours? I raised my hand. Mr. Vale looked irritated. Yes, Renee? May I go to the office? My name has been posted on the anonymous account again, and there is identifiable school cafeteria footage involved. The word identifiable did what tears never did. It made an adult think about policy. Take your things, he said. I'll call ahead. Principal DeMoss was not ready for me. In the first life, I entered her office Monday afternoon sobbing after the rumor had already become culture. Today, I entered Friday before final bell with screenshots sorted into a folder, timestamps labeled, and my face so calm she looked more alarmed than if I had cried. She sat behind her desk, navy suit, silver necklace, expression careful. Beside her was Deputy Ross, who had the unfortunate habit of believing whichever student sounded most disappointed in humanity. Renee, Principal DeMoss said, we are aware of the account. These situations are complex. They become more complex when adults wait for the easiest suspect, I said. Deputy Ross frowned. No one has named you as a suspect officially. The account just did. I placed my printed screenshots on the desk. This is the original post. These are route variations. This is Camille confirming one variation publicly while asking people to be kind. This is her private message saying my tone is confusing. This is the emergency post using a cafeteria photo taken from the table where Camille Saturday. Principal DeMoss picked up the photo. Her expression shifted. Deputy Ross leaned in. That could have been taken by someone nearby. Yes, I said. So ask nearby people. Ask cafeteria duty. Ask who sat where. Ask for the security angle before the weekend. Principal DeMoss looked at me sharply. Before the weekend? By Monday, the rumor will be too useful for people to remember accurately. That sentence hung in the office. Not dramatic.
True.
She turned to Deputy Ross. Preserve cafeteria footage for today, 11:45 to 12:30. Preserve library, media room, east stairwell, and chapel corridor footage from this morning. Deputy Ross hesitated. All of that. Now, she said. My lungs remembered how to breathe. The weekend became the battlefield because school rumors do not sleep. Friday evening, Camille posted a story, a soft focus photo of the chapel candles with the caption, "Choosing kindness even when people misunderstand your heart." In the first life, that caption destroyed me. People knew she meant me, and by not naming me, she seemed noble. This time, I replied publicly with a single sunflower emoji. Camille's symbol. Her kindness council logo. The comments exploded. Some people thought I was mocking her. Some thought we had made peace. Some thought I was unstable. Perfect. Confusion again. Saturday morning, I posted nothing. I did, however, meet Priya and Daniel at the public library because both had messaged me privately after noticing inconsistencies. Priya said she had heard the old media room version from Talia, who said she heard it from Camille, while Camille was trying not to gossip. Daniel said Camille had asked him whether he thought I was the kind of person who records when hurt, which was not an accusation, but somehow worse. We wrote everything down, not feelings. Routes. Who heard what, from whom, at what time. By Saturday evening, we had a rumor family tree ugly enough to deserve its own science fair board. Every branch bent toward Camille, or one of her closest friends. Not all began with her. That was important. Some began with shadow ledger posts. Some began with Paige or Talia. But Camille touched nearly every version at the moment it became believable. She was not the spark. She was the oxygen. Sunday night, the shadow ledger posted the direct accusation right on schedule. Monday truth. Renee Alder is the ledger. Evidence thread below. My hands went cold, even though I knew it was coming. The thread contained 3 pieces of proof. First, a screenshot of a notes app with phrasing similar to mine. Second, a library computer login at 6:22 a.m. Friday under my student ID. Third, a voice memo of me saying, "People should know who they're trusting." In the first life, this destroyed me because I tried to explain each piece separately while people had already accepted the whole. This time, I had prepared for the shape. The notes screenshot used a font I did not use and showed battery percentage from an iPhone model I did not own. The library login was real, but I had not been on campus at 6:22 Friday. Mrs. Orla, the librarian, had signed me in at 7:48 when I came to print study notes, and the earlier login came from a terminal behind the peer support room, where student IDs could autofill if someone had borrowed your account previously. The voice memo was real too, from a chapel committee meeting 3 weeks earlier. Camille had recorded it. I knew because she was the one who asked the question, what if people trust the wrong student leaders? And I had answered, people should know who they're trusting. Cropped context. A guillotine made of scissors. I did not respond in the chat. I sent everything to Principal DeMoss, Mrs. Orla, Priya, Daniel, and my mother. Then I went to bed. I did not sleep much, but I did not post. Monday morning arrived bright and cold, which felt cruelly theatrical. By 8 o'clock, the whole grade knew the accusation. People stared as I crossed the courtyard. Some looked disgusted. Some looked uncertain. Some looked almost disappointed that I was still smiling. Camille stood near the chapel steps, surrounded by girls comforting her as if she were the one named by an anonymous account. When she saw me, she broke away and hurried over. "Renee," she said, voice shaking, "I am so sorry." That was the opening line from the first life. Back then, I cried into her shoulder. Today, I tilted my head. For what? Her eyes widened, hurt blooming on command. For all of this. I told people not to believe it until you could explain. Did you? Yes. Good, I said. Then you'll want to hear the explanation at assembly. Her face changed. Just a flicker. Assembly? Principal DeMoss moved year assembly to first period. Camille had not known. That was the first real fear I saw in her. Not guilt. Loss of schedule. People like Camille do not fear truth first. They fear being forced into a room they did not arrange. The chapel bell rang. Students began moving inside. Camille stood still for half a second too long. Then she smiled bravely and walked in with everyone watching. The Monday assembly began with no hymn, no announcements, no sports results. Principal Damas stood at the front with Mrs. Orla, Deputy Ross, and 2 members of the digital safety team. A projector screen glowed behind them. The entire senior grade sat in rows, restless and electric. I sat near the middle, not hidden, not front row theatrical. Camille sat 3 rows ahead of me, back straight, golden hair falling perfectly over her blazer. Principal Damas did not name anyone at first. She spoke about anonymous harm, context collapse, and the speed at which speculation becomes punishment. Students shifted, impatient for scandal. Then she said, "This morning, I will show how one rumor changed shape across 3 days. I am asking you to pay attention not only to who is accused, but to who benefited from uncertainty." The screen changed. My rumor map appeared, cleaned up by Mrs. Orla into something terrifyingly professional. Original phrase: ask who she records in the library. Routes: library detail, east stairwell detail, old media room detail.
Times.
Screenshots. Public messages. Camille's message confirming the library detail while asking for kindness. Talia's message repeating old media room after speaking to Camille. Daniel's statement. Priya's statement. The cafeteria photo angle. The chapel story caption. The room became very quiet. Camille did not turn around. Her shoulders barely moved. But I saw her right hand curl around the edge of the pew. Then Principal Damas showed the evidence thread from Shadow Ledger. "The account named Renee Alder as its operator last night," she said. My name made the room shift. We investigated the 3 claims provided. First, the notes screenshot. Mrs. Orla pointed out the device mismatch and metadata inconsistency. Murmurs. Second, the library login. The digital safety team showed that my ID was used at 6:22 from a peer support room terminal, not the main library, while gate records showed I entered campus at 7:41. More murmurs. Then the voice memo. Principal Damas said, "Context matters." She played the full recording. Camille's voice came first, sweet and clear. "What if people trust the wrong student leaders? Shouldn't they know before they get hurt?" Then my voice, younger, casual, unaware of future knives. "People should know who they're trusting." The edited ledger clip had removed Camille's question. The chapel went silent in a new way. Students began looking at Camille now, not me.
Not all accusingly. Questioningly.
That was enough. The title did not say, "I made them hate the Golden Girl by Monday." I made them question her. Questions are more dangerous to Golden Girls than hatred, because hatred can be dismissed as jealousy. Questions require answers. Camille stood before Principal Damas could continue. "May I speak?" Her voice trembled. Everyone turned. In my first life, her speeches saved her. She was best when wounded and watched. Principal Damas hesitated. That hesitation nearly killed me. Then she nodded once. Briefly. Camille walked to the front with tears already shining. "I understand why this looks strange," she said. "But I want everyone to remember that I've been trying to protect Renee all weekend. I shared things because people came to me scared and confused. I asked for kindness. I did not run that account. I would never." Her voice broke on never. It was a beautiful speech beginning. It might have worked if the room had not already seen the map. But maps change how people hear music. Suddenly, her kindness sounded less like innocence and more like traffic control. She turned toward me. "Renee knows I care about her." That was the trap. Answer emotionally, look cruel. Stay silent, look cold. This time, I stood slowly. I know Camille cares about being trusted. A ripple moved through the pews. I walked to the second microphone because Principal Damas did not stop me. My legs shook, but my voice held. "I don't know who created the Shadow Ledger. Maybe the investigation will prove that. But I know this. Every time the rumor about me became more believable, Camille was nearby explaining it gently. She did not have to say I was guilty. She only had to make guilt sound like something kind people were worried about. Camille's tears stopped for 1 second. The room saw it. Then they returned, but the timing had cracked. Deputy Ross stepped forward with the final slide. It showed access data from the Shadow Ledger account. Not a name, not yet, but device patterns. Several uploads came from public Wi-Fi, but 2 draft saves came from the peer support room during times when only Kindness Council members had booking access. One draft was saved at 5:58 p.m. Thursday under a device name, Camille's iPad. A murmur became a wave. Camille turned sharply. That is impossible. Principal Damas said, "We are not making a final disciplinary finding in assembly. But given the evidence, no student should treat Renee Alder as responsible for this account. The investigation will continue privately." That was fair, maybe too fair. It did not destroy Camille instantly. It did something worse for her. It removed the room from her control before her innocence was restored. Students looked at her with uncertainty. The golden girl was no longer golden light. She was a person standing under a bulb that flickered. Camille stared at the screen, then at me. And for 1 second, I saw the real anger beneath all that softness. Not because she had been accused. Because people were thinking without her permission. The fallout did not become simple after assembly. Nothing real ever does. Some students apologized to me by text because doing it face-to-face would have required courage. Some insisted they had always wondered about Camille, which was a lie, but a useful one if it made them kinder next time. Some defended her fiercely, saying device names could be spoofed, kindness could be misunderstood, and Renee had always been intense. That last part was true. I was intense. Surviving a rumor designed to eat your future will do that. The digital investigation continued for 2 weeks. It found that Camille had not acted alone. Paige and Talia helped gather material. A Year 12 boy built the account structure. Several students submitted secrets, thinking they were holding hypocrites accountable. Camille's iPad had been used for drafts, edits, and one upload. She claimed Paige borrowed it. Paige claimed Camille approved everything. Talia cried and said the account was supposed to teach people not to be fake. The school called it coordinated anonymous harassment. Camille's family called it a misunderstanding of student activism. The truth sat somewhere uglier. A golden girl built a machine to expose everyone's masks while protecting her own, then tried to feed me to it when people got too close. Camille was removed from peer support leadership, chapel readings, and the Kindness Council. She was not expelled. Girls like Camille rarely are. They are reviewed, counseled, relocated, given language about pressure and wellness. But she lost something worse than a badge at West Haven. Automatic belief. Teachers paused before praising her. Students checked who else had heard something before accepting her concern. New girls no longer followed her alone after assembly. The Golden Heart became a student with a disciplinary note pending. That change was small on paper and enormous in hallways. One afternoon, a week after assembly, she found me outside the library. No audience.
No tears.
No ribbon in her hair. "You ruined how people see me," she said. I closed my book.
No.
I updated the lighting. Her mouth tightened. "You think you're better because you didn't run after the rumors this time?" This time. The words hit something strange in both of us. I looked at her carefully. "What did you say?" She blinked. "I said you smiled at them."
No.
"You said this time." For one impossible second, her face went still. Then she laughed softly. "You're hearing ghosts, Renee." Maybe I was. Maybe guilt speaks in echoes. Maybe some part of her remembered another Monday too. I stood. "Then be careful what you say around haunted girls." For the first time in either life, Camille stepped back from me. My record was cleared before end of term. Principal Damas wrote a formal letter stating that I was not responsible for the Shadow Ledger and had assisted in identifying rumor spread patterns. It was the least poetic sentence anyone had ever written about social survival, and I loved it. Mrs. Orla kept a copy of my rumor map in the library office as an example for digital literacy sessions. She called it applied information behavior. I called it how not to be eaten alive. My mother framed the clearance letter and hung it beside the kitchen calendar. "I prefer this to honor roll," she said. "Honor roll never tried to kill you." I laughed. then cried, then laughed again because healing is embarrassing. Priya became my friend slowly, not dramatically. Daniel apologized without asking me to comfort him. Sophie admitted she had repeated the library detail because Camille made it sound like she was protecting me, and I learned that forgiveness is easier when people name the mechanism, not just the regret. The gray did not become kind overnight, but it became less certain. That was enough for a beginning. Years later, when people asked why I studied communications and law, I told them I was interested in how stories move through institutions. That sounded academic. The truth was that I once watched a rumor cross a hallway, change shoes in a cafeteria, pick up a halo in chapel, and arrive at assembly wearing my name. I learned that rumors do not survive because everyone is evil. They survive because people enjoy feeling informed, because concern feels morally safer than accusation, because golden girls can turn poison into tea and call it care. I also learned that panic feeds them. Chasing every whisper gives the whisper legs. Smiling is not surrender if behind the smile you are mapping routes, saving screenshots, asking who benefits, and refusing to become the version of yourself the rumor requires. The first life, Renee, ran until she collapsed. The second life, Renee smiled until the room slowed down enough to see who was staring. On the last Monday of the year, I walked into the cafeteria and saw Camille sitting alone at the old kindness council table. For a moment, I felt nothing. Then, unexpectedly, I felt sad. Not for what she lost, exactly, but for the waste of a girl who could have been genuinely powerful if she had not needed everyone else to be manageable first. She looked up as I passed. "Do you ever get tired of being careful?" she asked. There was no audience, so I answered honestly, yes. Then why keep doing it? I looked around the cafeteria. Students laughing, arguing, eating, whispering, living inside stories that could still turn dangerous if nobody listened closely. Because careless people made carefulness necessary. She looked down first. I kept walking. At my table, Priya had saved me a seat. Daniel was arguing about a history assignment, and Sophie was telling a younger student, "Don't repeat it unless you know where it came from." I sat down and smiled for real this time. Not at a rumor. Not as strategy. Just because the room, for once, did not feel like it belonged to the loudest lie. That is the part one carry with me most. Not Camille's face at assembly, not the device logs, not even the moment the whole grade began questioning her. I carry the Friday morning when I chose not to run. I carry the notebook page where routes replaced reactions. I carry the knowledge that a rumor is not a monster until people feed it their certainty. In my first life, I thought defending myself meant shouting truth louder than lies. In my second, I learned that sometimes truth needs quiet hands, clean records, and a smile strange enough to make liars overreach. So when people say I made the whole grade question the Golden Girl by Monday, they imagine one dramatic reveal, one perfect speech, one final blow. It was not that. It was smaller and sharper. I stopped being the panicked girl her story needed. I smiled at the rumors, watched where they ran, and by the time Monday came, every path led back to the girl who kept telling everyone she was only trying to help.